In this video today, I'm going to show you how to not create a logo, but take a logo that you've already created and put it in Flash and make some sort of advertisement out of it. So here's here's a logo I made inside of Adobe Illustrator, and it's really just 4 pieces and then some text. So if yours is a little bit simpler like this, it's going to work great in Flash. You can always take this and then merge it into a JPEG, or not a JPEG, but some other graphic file. So I'm going to create this. I'm going to copy this and bring it into. I'm just going to paste it into Flash. Okay. If you haven't already, you just go to File, New, and you just make a new file. But I'm going to scroll out here for a second. I'm going to grab all this, highlight all of it, use my free transform tool here, and I'm going to move it down a little bit and get it to fit inside of the box that I've already created. Now I'm not actually going to need the entire box. See, it's more empty space than I want here. So if I click in the open area with my selection tool, I can drop this down to probably like 300. Probably makes a little more sense. That looks pretty good. Can center this up right about there. Okay. And if I highlight this, you'll actually notice it's got this extra little thing up there. I don't really want that, so I'm going to make sure I delete that. Alright, now it's on one layer, and in the end, after 60 frames, and right now it's set at 24 frames a second, so after about 3 seconds, it's going to change into, I want it to be like this. So I'm going to do F6. I want to make sure it ends like this, okay? But before that, in this part, I don't want this, so I'm going to delete it. And I do want all of these, though. Now, these are just drawing objects, which is fine, but I need them to actually move, and so to move I need to make them symbols. So what I'm going to do first, though, is I'm going to right click on these, though, or let me say it, if you don't have something, just grab a couple different shapes just to kind of try things out, and then once you get a real logo you can go from there. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight these, and it's got a bunch of different objects in there, so I'm going to right click on this and do distribute to layers. And what that's going to do for me now is all of these are its own layer. There's the yellow, there's the blue, there's the green, and there's the red. Okay? And what I want to do is I'm going to go down to the last frame here. So I'm going to scrub through, and right now it just sits there, right? So I'm going to go down to frame 60 where they finish up. And or actually what I should do first, though, is create motion tween in all of these, and it's going to say, hey, this needs to be a symbol. Can we make this a symbol? And you say, sure, that's fine. And you do that for all these. So again, right click, create motion tween. Don't do classic tween. That's kind of the old way of doing things. It's not what we're doing. So create motion tween for all of these. Create motion tween. There we go. Alright. So I want to make sure they actually will be in this position in the end. Right? So if you actually just move it a little bit, you move it and then you actually move it back to that spot. You can actually use your arrow keys if you want to be real precise about it. It should be making a little dot. It's probably not because I actually haven't moved it yet. So let's go to this first frame and move it. Okay? And if I go to the last frame, for example, and I move it, and I kind of put it in that same spot, and again I can use my arrow keys if I want to kind of get in there exactly where it was, you'll see this little dot appears, right? And so what it's doing right now is it creates every little frame in between there. So if I were to go to the first one, though, and let's say I'm going to actually move this off screen a little ways here, you can see it actually move to that spot, which is great. And if you click on it, you can see all of the little frames that it creates in between. So it actually follows that path all the way to the end. And one thing I wanted to show with this, though, is if I were to move, let's say I scrub to frame 5 here, and I move that blue part of it, you can actually see it created a motion tween only for that spot, and it stays there for the rest. Okay, just realize that they're on their own each timeline, so I don't want that there. So I'm going to undo until that's gone. I got to make sure I'm on the first frame. Okay, so I'm going to drag that one off too, and drag this one off, and I'm even going to drag this red one way off as well. Okay, so in the end, I want them to all to end in that spot. So I'm going to drag these back real quick though, and make sure they're in those spots as well. Okay, so now you can see they all break apart and they end in that position. Okay. So we want them to come in differently, though. So like, for example, this red one here, I'm going to click on this object, and this gives me the options for that one. But if I want it to actually rotate, for example, I'm going to click down here instead, and I can tell it to rotate 3 times, for example. Alright, and it's going to spin around and go into that. Now I can do that for all of those, and feel free to do that if that's what you want. This red one, for example, what I could do is maybe change the path of it. So I'm going to have this one kind of swoop out and that's going to allow me to, so if you watch this now, it's swooping out like this to that spot. And I think it'd be kind of cool if this one rotated as well. So again, I got to click inside the timeline here if I want it to rotate. Maybe this one's just going to rotate around twice. And so that's coming in and then so. And for how about this blue one, I'm actually going to have it way over here. And this one though, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have it go to alpha, and I'm going to make it so it's not even there. Okay. And right now it's still showing that it's not there, but in the end, okay, the alpha is going to change. So if I click on that object again here, oops, see now what's happening here is I'm clicking on it and it's showing the drawing object and not the symbol that I created. So I'm going to turn that layer off by hitting the little icon like that, okay. And does it not exist before this? What's going on? So I need to make sure I'm doing this right. So let me turn this eyeball back on here, see what's going on. Oh, that's right, it's because the alpha's off. So if I do turn this off, it's still there. I just got to click on it, okay? And I'm going to turn the alpha all the way up to 100, and then it appears again. So that way now if you watch it, it's fading into that spot, okay? I'm going to turn that eyeball back on. It kind of cleans up our edges, okay? Alright, so there you go, boom. And then how about this green one? What I can do is I'm going to take this green one here, and I can move it in. And they have all these other options like display as well, 3D position and view. And I'm going to just see if I can do the free transform tool first. And I want it to start small, so I'm going to shrink this down real tiny, maybe even so you can't see it hardly. And then as it goes, it's going to be bigger in the end, right? So I got to make sure I still drag on this, and I am going to drag it larger. I'm trying to grab a corner, which is kind of tough with this, but it's going to end up, you know, getting bigger in the end. Maybe moving to the right spot too. Okay, so you can see how it gets small, and then it all comes together in different ways. Looks like I didn't do quite as good job as I should have on the green one there. I kind of changed the size of it, but that's alright. If I turn my eyeball back on, if I turn it on, you'll be able to, it should be kind of in front of it there. And so if I, for example, hit F6 here now, it's only this object that now exists. It looks like I kind of screwed up my green one here, so make sure I put that back where it should be. It looks like I resized the wrong one. And I don't want to go back because this is a video, but you get the point. Okay, so there it is, and that's where I want to end with it, with all the animation part of it at least. And one thing I could do now is I want it to like have a camera flash like kind of show up. So I'm going to create a new layer here, and nothing's in this layer until this point, and I want this I want there to be like a flash, right? So I'm going to hit F6 here, and I'm going to draw just a box here. And now I want to make sure the box though is just white, for example. So you have to actually click it and then choose white. Alright, and so right now they're coming together, and then boom, it shows it all of a sudden like this. So really in this one I don't want this even showing up yet, so I'm going to delete that as well. And then it goes white for a second and then not. So really what I should probably do is, this is my layer for my objects here. So I'm going to grab this, I click on it once and I click on it again, and you can actually drag it down, and that continues that on as long as you want. Okay, we're going to hit F6 again, that worked just fine too. But that flash comes in, and then it's coming back, but that's probably too quick. If I just hit enter, it shows what it looks like. I can also, you know, make sure this object lasts a little bit longer. I could hit F6 and it creates another keyframe, same thing. I could also look at taking this object though, and when I go to fill, I could drop the alpha down some so it's see-through, right? So that way it's there, and then it fades, and then it's, see, there's three of them then. It's full strength, partial strength, and then no strength at all. And I could do the alpha balance for that as well. Okay, and so there we are with that. It still kind of bothers me my green's screwed up, but I'll just keep going. And then I need my words to come in. So I'm going to drag this one back here for real quick. So it flashes, and then it's in there. Okay, so what we need now is probably some sound effects. So right here on this, I'm going to make a new layer, not to confuse you, just to put up here. And I need some sound effects. So right now it flashes, and I would like to have that sound effect go in. So what I'm going to do is go to File, Import to Library. And I've already downloaded a couple sounds, and I'll put these also in the description if you'd like them. And that is the sound of a shutter. Actually, you know, I'm going to grab both of these and you'll grab both of them when you get the chance as well. And I'll hit open, and if I go to library, they are now over here, okay? And it actually shows the other symbols I have, by the way, if you need those. So we need this shutter sound in here, so I'm gonna hit F6 up here, okay? And I think that might be where the shutter sound will end up. So I can actually drag this onto the stage, and you can actually see the little waves that are in there. And I'll try to turn up my sound so you can hear it, so when I play it, I can just hit enter again. And you want to basically grab that keyframe and move it so that sound actually ends up in the right place. You know, and you could click on it and then click again to drag it around to move it. So if I enter, you'll be able to hear it again. And that looks pretty right on, so we're good there. And then the last thing I want to do is kind of get like a glint or like a shine to go across this. And I'm going to show you the really low-tech way of doing this. So I'm just going to grab my tool here again. I'm going to have white. I'm going to grab long rectangle here. And I'm going to take this and I'm going to rotate it. So I'm going to rotate it around here by going to the corner. And it's going to come flying across. Okay. And really, maybe I should have a double one, or let's make this a symbol so we're not. Oh, you know what? I actually put this on the sound layer. Maybe I shouldn't do that. So I'm going to do a Control X to get rid of it. I'm going to make a new layer on top of that even. All right, and it's going to go in right at here at frame 70. It doesn't matter where yours is at. Hit F6 though. I'm going to paste it in there. It's going to go from one side of the screen to the other. But to do so, though, let's make it a symbol. So I'm going to right-click on it, convert to symbol, and I'm going to choose graphic. And I'm going to call this glint or shine or whatever you'd like to call it. And there it is. Okay, and I'm going to do create motion tween. And by this point, at the end, I want it to be across the screen. Okay, and right now, if you look, I don't know if that's fast enough. So it's going to go. And then it's going to go across. And actually that's not bad. So right where it's about to start coming across the letters, that's where I want my next sound effect to go. So I'm going to go F6 at that position as well. And I'm going to drag in my glint sound effect and add it, just drop it in anywhere, let go of it, and you'll see it begins right here. So let's try this out. Okay, and right now we see it go across like that, and maybe that's a little too strong. I'm going to go back to that first layer then. You know, I can double click on the symbol and change it, or if I click right here and go back to properties, what I can do is I can just double click on this, and let's say I wanted actually like a double shine. So I'm going to grab this free transform tool, and I'm going to actually grab this, copy and paste it. I'll actually use two of them instead, and I can change the width of it and stuff like that as well. Maybe make this thinner, a little bit different. Okay, and double click out of it, and now it's like a double shine, so it like goes across. It's actually, see, it'll be like that in slow-mo. So I've hit Control Enter now to watch this. Let me make a preview for me. You see how that works? Okay, so pretty much right on with what I want. You can hear the sound's not as nice when it's exported finally. And you can, again, change any of this as you want. But hopefully that gives you some ideas. Feel free to create objects that fly off the screen or change in any way, and whatever else. So I hope this is helpful. Oh, one last thing I could do is alpha, and drop that down to halfway or so, and that way it's not. It still shines through. You can still see it in there. But hopefully that gives you some ideas. Have fun, and good luck.